My beloved child, when your heart is placed in the furnace of testing, do not be quick to think that I have left you or abandoned you alone in the midst of the shaking. There are seasons when I allow the winds to blow strongly, not to break you, but so that the deepest part within you may learn to cling to me more than to anything your eyes can see. A soul that only stands firm when everything is easy has not yet truly known the strength of grace. But when you still turn toward me, even before you see a way out, the faith within you begins to gain depth. My word has said that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. As in James 1:3, not so that you would suffer without meaning, but so that a holy endurance may be formed within you. I am not only preparing blessings for you, I am also preparing you for those blessings. For there are things that, if they came too soon, your heart would not have enough peace to hold them. There are doors that, if opened while you are still overwhelmed, you would enter through fear instead of wisdom. Therefore, trust that every silence, every waiting season, and every unexplained step is being used by me to build a hidden yet firm foundation within your soul. I know you once prayed for a sign, a path, a clear change so that you could breathe more easily. But my child, many times what I give first is not a changed circumstance, but a renewed heart. I want you to learn to walk in peace before the door opens, so that when it truly does open, you will not be swept away by haste, intoxicated by success, or shaken by the praise and criticism of people. Remember, the vine does not bear fruit by its own effort. It bears fruit because it remains in the root. I have said, whoever remains in me, and I in him, will bear much fruit. As in John 15:5, you do not need to force yourself to become strong by becoming hardened. Your true strength is in knowing how to remain in me, to stay tender before me, to listen to me, and to let my life flow through every thought, every word, and every decision of yours. When you remain in me, the things that once confused you will gradually lose their power to rule over you. When you remain in me, you will no longer see trials as proof that you have been abandoned, but as the place where I am refining you to carry a greater weight of grace. Therefore, guard your words as one guards a lamp in the night. Do not let your mouth sow seeds of despair into the soil of your own soul. Do not call yourself unworthy when I have called you my beloved child. Do not keep condemning yourself when the blood of grace has already opened a way for you to rise again. Do not say that everything is over while I am still continuing to write your story with mercy. My word teaches that death and life are in the power of the tongue. As in Proverbs 18, Arshayi. So learn to speak words that carry life, not the boastful words of the flesh, but the humble words of one who trusts the Father. Say that you are being shaped by me. Say that you have not slipped out of my hand. Say that what has not yet happened does not mean I have forgotten, and that what seems delayed does not mean I am powerless. When you speak according to fear, your heart shrinks, but when you speak according to truth, your soul opens to receive the light. I am not asking you to deny your tears, but I am teaching you not to let your tears become the final prophecy over your life. Remember King Jehoshaphat on the day the people of Judah were surrounded by great armies. Before their eyes was danger, and their strength was small. But instead of letting the people sink into terror, he set his face to seek me and said, "We do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you." As in 2 Chronicles 20:12, my child, that is the prayer of a mature heart, not pretending to be strong enough, not surrendering to despair, but fixing its gaze on me. And I did not tell them to fight in the way they had imagined. I caused them to go out with singing, with praise going before swords and spears. And as they lifted their voices in worship, I threw the enemy into confusion before they even had to touch the battle with their hands. Do you see? There are victories that do not begin with you controlling everything, but with you placing praise before fear. There are walls that do not fall because you strike harder, but because you obey me in something that seems small and strange. That story was placed in my word so you would know that when you no longer know what to do, you can still know where to look. Therefore, on this day, do not demand to see the entire journey before you choose to believe. A child does not need to understand the whole road in order to rest peacefully when their hand is held in their father's hand. You are the same. My child, let your hand remain in mine. I will never give you more darkness than the light necessary for your next step. I have said, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. As in Psalm 119, Satavizi. And that lamp often shines only enough for the nearest step, so that you may learn to trust me one step at a time. What I am doing within you is deeper than the things you are asking for outwardly. I am teaching you to stop resisting yourself through doubt, to stop wounding yourself with words of condemnation, and to stop viewing delay as rejection. I am teaching you to live like one who is loved, to decide like one who is being led, and to wait like one who knows their Father is never late. Be at peace, my beloved child. This season has not come to destroy your hope, but to purify it, strengthen it, and root it more deeply in me. And when my appointed hour arrives, you will not simply walk through the door, you will walk through it with a heart that has been prepared, with lips that know how to speak life, and with a soul that knows the one who goes before you is also the one who holds you securely. My beloved child, when pressure suddenly rises around you, do not immediately think that you have gone the wrong way. Some collisions appear not because the promise has moved farther away, but because you are approaching a threshold your soul has never crossed before. The enemy of peace often wants you to misunderstand seasons of testing, to interpret opposing winds as signs of abandonment, and to see delay as rejection. But I speak to you with gentleness and firmness. You do not belong to fear, you belong to me. As Isaiah 43:1 reminds you that I have called you by name, and you are mine. Let that truth become the anchor within your heart. When you know that heaven has called you by name, you will no longer allow circumstances to call you a failure. When you know that you rest within my hand, you will no longer allow darkness to persuade you that you have been forgotten. What stands against you has no authority to define you. It is only revealing the faith I planted within you long ago. At times you look around and everything seems unmoving. But my child, do not judge my work only by what appears on the surface. A seed buried in the ground is not useless simply because human eyes cannot yet see green shoots rising. Roots grow silently downward before the tree becomes strong enough to rise upward. In the same way, I am doing a hidden work within you, where no one applauds, no one notices, and no one sees except me. Colossians 2:7 speaks of being rooted and built up in faith. That is exactly what I am doing with your soul. I do not want you merely to receive blessings and then lose your way because your heart was never made steady. I want you to possess a heart deep enough that when blessings come, you do not become proud, soft enough that when doors open, you do not forget the one who opened them, and awake enough that when light shines upon your life, you use it to guide others rather than to exalt yourself. Therefore, guard your lips as one guards a precious garden. Every word you speak is a seed, and no seed is ever truly meaningless in the spiritual realm. Do not allow dry complaints to become the climate surrounding your soul. Do not call yourself someone without hope when I am still opening paths you cannot yet see. Do not speak like one sentenced by yesterday, but speak like one whom grace has lifted up today. Proverbs 10:11 says that the mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life. So let your words carry the breath of life. When you still give thanks before seeing results, heaven sees a faith that is not purchased by outward evidence. When you still speak words of trust before holding what you have prayed for, you offer me a very beautiful sacrifice. It is not that you deny hardship, but that you refuse to let hardship become the final voice over your life. I want you to remember the widow of Zarephath in the days of the prophet Elijah. When famine covered the land, she had only a handful of flour and a little oil left, seemingly enough for one final meal for herself and her son. Yet in that very place of lack, I sent Elijah to her and invited her into an act of faith beyond human reasoning. She did not look at the nearly empty jar as a final sentence, but obeyed within the little that remained. And as 1 Kings 17 recounts, the flour was not used up and the oil did not run dry until the day I sent rain upon the earth again. Do you see, my child, some miracles begin not with abundance, but with a heart willing to believe in the midst of scarcity. Some dawns arrive not with thunderous noise, but through a quiet choice to still give, still trust, still obey, and still open the heart to me, even when the eyes cannot yet see change. And you as well do not despise the small acts of faith you make today. For I can use one word of gratitude, one step of obedience, or one whispered prayer to open a stream of provision beyond anything you have ever imagined. Then you will begin to understand that the things which seem scattered and disconnected today are not meaningless at all. An unexpected peace in the middle of unchanged circumstances, a gentle reminder within your heart, a meeting that happens at the right moment, a verse of scripture suddenly touching the very place where you are weary, a sense of gratitude rising before any visible evidence appears. All these may be the first rays of light I place before your dawn. Remember when Elijah stood upon Mount Horeb, I did not reveal myself only through the mighty wind, the earthquake, or the fire, but through the still small voice. As described in 1 Kings 19, I am teaching you to recognize me not only in loud miracles, but also in gentle, hidden, and pure signs. A person mature in faith does not only know how to rejoice when blessings already fill their hands, but also knows how to bow and worship at the very first glimpse of light upon the horizon. Such a soul does not need everything to change immediately in order to believe that I am working. That soul learns to recognize my breath, even within the silence. Therefore, my beloved child, stand firm without becoming hardened. Wait without falling into despair. And smile at the things that once made you tremble, because now you know that your Father is near. The trial before you is not a wall blocking your path, but a staircase leading you higher into the knowledge of me. Pressure has not come to steal the promise, but to teach you how to hold the promise with a heart that is deeper, purer, and more peaceful. Romans 15:13 says that the God of hope fills you with all joy and peace in believing. That is what I desire to pour into you today. So, speak with faith, live with gratitude, walk with awareness, and trust that what I have planted will bloom in its appointed season. The radiance that is coming is not the result of human luck, but the fruit of my faithfulness, quietly ripening along your journey. My beloved child, there are moments when the place you thought was a battlefield is actually the place where I desire to build an altar of worship. Darkness often wants you to react with panic, bitterness, or silent surrender within your heart. But when you kneel down in the midst of pressure and offer me an honest sigh, a small word of gratitude, or a trembling yet sincere surrender, then the very thing the enemy intended to use to break you begins to become the place where my grace is revealed. You do not need to pretend that you are not hurting. I do not ask you to smile behind a mask of strength when your heart is weary. I am your Father, not a spectator, standing at a distance judging your endurance. I draw near to the brokenhearted, just as Psalm 34:18 says that the Lord is near to those who are crushed in spirit. Therefore, when you are weak, come closer to me. When you tremble, let your hand rest within mine. And when you do not know what to say, let even your silence become a prayer. What pleases heaven is not your attempt to prove that you need no one, but your realization that you were created to depend upon me. Understand this. My beloved child, your response in the midst of testing reveals who is reigning within you. The same circumstance can cause one person to sink into fear, yet lead another soul deeper into peace. If you allow anger to guide you, your heart will be pulled into an atmosphere of chaos. If you allow despair to speak louder than truth, your eyes will only see towering walls and not the door I am preparing. But when you choose to pause, breathe within my presence, speak honestly to me about your heart, and still obey even without understanding everything, you are proving that your soul belongs to a kingdom that cannot be shaken. Hebrews 12:28 speaks of an unshakable kingdom, and I want that truth to become the ground beneath your feet. You can live among bad news without being ruled by bad news. You can walk through opposition without allowing opposition to distort your heart. You may cry, but you do not have to despair. You may grow weary, but you do not have to give up. You may not yet see the answer, but you can still know that I have never been absent. I want you to remember Paul and Silas in the prison at Philippi. They were not in an easy situation. Their bodies had been beaten, their feet fastened in chains, and around them stood darkness and cold stone walls. To natural eyes, it was a place of failure, a place where the voice of hope seemed imprisoned. Yet at midnight they prayed and sang praises to me, as Acts 16 recounts. And within that very prison I caused the earth to shake, the chains to fall, and the prison doors to open. Do you see? My child, praise is not always born in comfort. Often the most beautiful songs of worship arise from places where no one believes singing is possible. And when they worshiped, not only were their own chains broken, but all the others in the prison witnessed my power as well. That is what I am teaching you. Your faithfulness in hidden places can echo into the lives of many other souls. A prayer you offer through tears today may become the evidence tomorrow that convinces someone else that I am still alive, still listening, still opening doors, and still turning places of captivity into places of freedom. Therefore, do not consider your perseverance to be small or insignificant. There are people quietly watching your life without your knowledge. They do not need you to preach many words. They need to see a soul that still chooses light when circumstances try to extinguish it. Someone will rediscover courage when they see that pressure did not turn you bitter. Someone will learn to pray again when they see you still lifting your eyes toward me in a season without clear answers. Someone will believe that grace is real when they see you become gentler after pain, deeper after waiting, and humbler after testing. I have said, you are the light of the world, as in Matthew 5:14. But that light does not matter only on bright and beautiful days. Light becomes more precious when night falls. A lamp shines more clearly when the winds blow. And you, when you still allow me to guard your heart in the midst of adversity, are becoming a living witness that darkness has no authority to end the story of one who belongs to me. Now lift up your head in humility, not because every trial has disappeared, but because you know that trials are not the final verdict over your life. Let every pressure draw you closer to me instead of pushing you away from me. Let every fear become a place where you learn to call upon my name more deeply. Let every moment of tension become a prayer. And every time you feel the urge to complain, become an opportunity to choose gratitude instead. Philippians 4:6-7 teaches you not to be anxious about anything, but to bring everything before me through prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. And then my peace will guard your heart and mind. That peace does not depend on your understanding of the entire plan. It comes from knowing that the one holding the plan is your Father. When you choose trust instead of doubt, you are not merely surviving a difficult day, you are being shaped into someone deeper, broader, and brighter within me. And when the doors I have prepared begin to open, you will look back and realize that those pressures were never strong enough to steal the promise. They were only used by me like fire refining gold, causing what was shallow to fall away, so that what is true might remain. You will see that there are lessons learned only in narrow places, depths uncovered only through tears, and strengths born only when you stop leaning on your own power. I once spoke to Paul and said, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." As in 2 Corinthians 12:9. Today I speak the same words to you. My grace is sufficient for this breath, sufficient for this decision, sufficient for tonight, and sufficient for the next step. Be at peace, my beloved child. I am with you in the things others can see, and also in the things no one knows about. I am keeping you from breaking apart, teaching you how to worship in the midst of storms, and leading you into the portion I have promised with a heart that has been refined, softened, illuminated, and anchored firmly in my unchanging love. My beloved child, do not let the silence of this season deceive you into believing that I am no longer at work. There are things I am doing so deeply that your eyes cannot yet perceive them. But soon your soul will recognize the marks of my hand. A house that is meant to stand firm against storms must first have its foundation built before it is decorated. A tree that is meant to bear much fruit must endure long seasons of roots growing deep in dark soil. You are the same. Before I entrust you with greater things, I am enlarging within you a hidden foundation: patience, humility, discernment, and a love that is not easily shaken by waiting. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says that I make everything beautiful in its time. Therefore, what has not opened today does not mean it has been lost, but may instead be kept until your heart is peaceful enough to enter it without losing yourself. I know there were moments when you wondered why the doors remained closed, why your prayers seemed suspended in empty space, and why others appeared to move ahead quickly while you were being taught to walk slowly. But my child, in my hands, slowness is not a sign of abandonment. Often it is the cradle where new strength is born. Isaiah 40:31 says that those who wait upon me shall renew their strength and rise on wings like eagles. But understand this, that strength does not always come before the waiting. More often, it is woven quietly through each day. You continue standing firm without yet seeing results. I do not delay in order to wound you. I regulate the timing in order to protect you from things arriving too soon. A blessing given while the heart is still overwhelmed can become a burden. An opportunity opened before you have learned to listen can pull you far away from peace. Therefore, I am not only preparing the gift, I am preparing the hands, the mind, and the heart that will receive it. In this season of silence, what I am refining within you is not merely endurance, but the inner ears of your spirit. Not every urgent voice is my voice. Not every shining road leads to life. There are opportunities clothed in the appearance of blessing, yet inwardly they nurture pride. There are invitations that sound reasonable, but when you draw near, your soul loses its peace. There are doors that stand wide open, yet do not carry the breath of grace. I have said in John 10:27 that my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. My voice may correct you, but it will not crush you with shame. My voice may urge you forward, but it will not drive you into chaos. My voice may call you out of familiar places, yet it will always leave within you a clear and pure sense of peace. Not a restless urgency that causes you to lose obedience. Remember the boy Samuel in the temple while the night was still quiet. My voice did not come to him through crowds, nor through thunder and lightning meant to overwhelm, but through a stillness so gentle that he had to learn whose voice he was hearing. At first, Samuel thought Eli was calling him, but later he was taught to answer, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." As 1 Samuel 3 recounts, "Do you see, my child? There are seasons when I lower the volume of the world around you in order to heighten the hearing of your soul. I do not want you running after every noise outside of you. I want you to recognize my voice even when it comes softly. When you learn to answer me with a willing heart, what once seemed unclear will gradually become bright with understanding. And you will know which step is mine and which is merely noise disguised as opportunity. The peace I am building within you is not a fragile peace that exists only when every report is good. I am giving you a rooted peace, a peace that knows how to sit quietly before me without demanding that every answer appear immediately. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." That stillness is not helplessness, but trust that has stopped struggling in the hands of its Father. When you remember the times I have carried you through what once seemed impossible, those memories will become oil poured upon the lamp of your faith. Psalm 77:11 invites you to remember the works I have done, for when you remember rightly, you will no longer interpret the present through fear. You will begin to see waiting as a preparation room rather than a prison. You will see silence as the place where I am refining you, not the emptiness of abandonment. Therefore, from this day forward, let your words and your steps flow together in the same direction. Do not say that you trust me while living as though you have been abandoned. Neither try to do what is right while your own words sow discouragement into your soul. Proverbs 16:3 teaches you to commit your works to me so that your plans may be established. Therefore, every small act of obedience carries value before me. A single word of forgiveness may unlock a place within your soul that has long been imprisoned. A word of thanksgiving before results appear may soften the soil of your heart. A word of encouragement spoken to another may become a light you never realized you were giving away. And a sincere prayer, even whispered within a small room, can transform that place into ground where heaven touches the earth. My beloved child, I am not looking for loud declarations from you in order to prove your faith. I am seeking a heart that truly rests in dependence upon me. Mark 11:23 speaks of faith without doubt in the heart. But understand that such faith is not forcing yourself to appear strong. It is placing your entire heart into the hands of the one who is faithful. Speak words of life, and then walk in obedience. Remember what I have done, and then trust what I am doing now. Discern my voice, and then follow the peace I place within your heart. And when the appointed time comes, you will understand that this season of waiting was never wasted. It has made you deeper, purer, steadier, and gentler. And when the blessing blooms in its proper season, you will not only rejoice in what I have given you, but you will also know how to carry it with a soul that has been prepared by my love. My beloved child, I see the things you have held on to for far too long, in silence, the fragments of memory that seem to sleep, yet still quietly weigh down your steps. The old words spoken by others that have clung to your mind like dust upon the windows of your soul. There were moments when you could no longer distinguish between the wound and your true self, because the pain had remained for so long that you began to believe releasing it would mean losing part of your identity. But my child, you were not created to carry forever the things that have kept your head bowed low. You were created to stand in my light, to breathe through my peace, and to live as one who has been called by love rather than by pain. I do not come to you as one who violently snatches from your trembling hands what you are still afraid to release. I come as a gentle father who sits beside you, places his hand upon the place where your heart has tightened, and teaches you step by step that this burden no longer belongs to you. As Psalm 55:22 reminds you to cast your burden upon the Lord because He will sustain you. I want you to understand that letting go is not weakness. It is a deeply courageous act of faith. There are freedoms that do not begin with loud celebration, but with a very quiet whisper within the heart, Father, I no longer want this to rule over me. Even one honest sentence like that, if offered from the deepest place within, is enough for heaven to recognize the beginning of something new. I do not despise your trembling. I do not reject you when you let go only little by little. Slowly, awkwardly, imperfectly. A child learning to walk is not condemned by the Father because the steps are unsteady. Instead, the Father rejoices because the child has risen to try again. In the same way, every time you choose not to return to old cycles of bitterness, every time you refuse to let a memory pull you back into darkness, every time you slow your breathing instead of reacting from woundedness, you are taking another step out of an invisible prison. Isaiah 61:1 speaks of proclaiming freedom to the captives. And today I am speaking those words over the hidden rooms within your soul, the places where you once believed no one could see and no one could ever touch. Remember blind Bartimaeus sitting beside the road to Jericho. He had become accustomed to the cloak of a beggar, accustomed to being overlooked, accustomed to hearing crowds pass by without truly seeing him. But when he heard that I was passing near, he did not allow the rebukes of others to silence him. He cried out in faith. And when I called him, Mark 10:50 says that he immediately threw aside his cloak, rose up, and came to me. Do you see, my child? Before his eyes were opened, he released the garment that symbolized his old life. He did not carry it with him as proof of his past, nor cling to it as a familiar shelter. He rose up and moved toward my call. My beloved child, there are invisible garments you too have worn for too long. The garment of shame, the garment of judgment, the garment of disappointment, the garment of self-protection, the garment of fear of being hurt again. I am calling you away from that roadside, not so you can prove your own strength, but so you may realize that my calling over your life is greater than every name the world has ever placed upon you. As your heart begins to be untangled, your words will begin to be healed as well. In the past, you may have spoken from a place of defense, from scarcity, from fear that tomorrow would wound you once again. But when you realize that you are loved by me, your words will no longer need to stand guard over your wounds. Instead, they will become seeds of life. You do not need to believe every thought that passes through your mind, because not every thought comes from truth. Some thoughts are only echoes from old days. Some emotions are only temporary waves. And some conclusions were formed through pain rather than wisdom. 2 Corinthians 10:5 teaches you to take every thought captive unto Christ. Therefore, before you speak, bring what is rising within your heart before me. Ask yourself, does this word lead you toward peace? Does it sow life? Does it reflect the identity I have given you? If not, you do not need to release it from your lips. You have the authority to choose which words will be planted into your tomorrow. From this day forward, learn to live like a garden that I, myself, am tending. I will not only uproot the old roots of bitterness within you, but I will also plant new seeds within your heart, mercy instead of judgment, gentleness instead of defensiveness, gratitude instead of complaining, trust instead of silent suspicion. Yet I also ask you to cooperate with me each day. When an old word tries to rise again, choose a better word. When an impulsive reaction tries to pull you away, pause within the breath of my presence. When old memories knock upon the door, do not invite them to sit upon the throne of your heart any longer. Romans 12:2 too says to be transformed through the renewing of your mind, and that renewal is not some distant miracle, but a holy work unfolding day by day as you allow my truth to replace the lies that have lived inside you for far too long. Then you will begin to notice your mind becoming lighter, your vision clearer, and the things that once made you shrink back, losing their power to direct your steps. And my child, the healing I am bringing into your life is not meant only for you alone. When your hands no longer cling tightly to the past, they will finally have room to receive what is new and to give what is good. When your mouth is no longer controlled by woundedness, your words will carry the power to lift others up. When your heart is enlarged, grace will no longer remain within you like water trapped inside a sealed vessel, but will flow through you like a cool stream for thirsty souls. John 7:38 says that rivers of living water will flow from within those who believe. That is what I desire to do through your life. You will not only become one who has been comforted, but also one who carries comfort to others. You will not only become one who has been set free, but also a living sign that chains truly can fall away. Therefore, let me lighten your hands, cleanse your words, and widen your heart. What you release today is not loss. It is a holy space being made ready for me to fill with life, hope, and peace beyond anything you have ever known. My beloved child, as I heal the hidden places within you, you will begin to realize that the world around you no longer operates in the same way it once did. Not because you are forcing doors open through your own strength, nor because you are chasing every opportunity out of fear of being left behind, but because something within you has stopped resisting the good things I desire to give you. There are blessings that cannot be placed into a heart still trapped in self-condemnation. There are relationships that cannot fully bloom within a mind still chained to the past. There are pathways that appear only when your soul has learned to stand in peace instead of haste. I have said, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. As in Matthew 6:33, therefore, when you allow me to restore order within you, the things around you will gradually begin to align themselves according to heaven's rhythm as well. You will no longer need to lower your dignity in order to enter a place, compromise your purity in order to be accepted, or sell your peace in order to keep an invitation. What comes from me will carry the fragrance of grace. It may require courage from you, but it will never defile your soul. I want you to understand that the abundance I give is not merely having more so that you may fear less. True abundance is when your heart becomes free enough to receive without greed, to hold without clinging, and to give without becoming empty. When I open resources for you, I am not thinking only about your personal needs. I also see the souls that will be touched through your life, and God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that you, always having all sufficiency in all things, may abound to every good work. As 2 Coríntios 9:8 declares. Do you see? My child, abundant grace does not stop at personal security. It opens into a life capable of lifting others up. Perhaps I will send you a healthy partnership, provision arriving at the right moment, a person who encourages you in the proper season, or a small idea that opens into a great pathway. These things may arrive quietly, without trumpet blasts or display, but when you look back, you will recognize that my hand placed every piece exactly where it belonged. Yet not everything familiar still belongs in the new season of your life. There are people who have remained near you for many years, but closeness does not always mean nourishment. There are conversations that contain no obvious sin, yet afterward leave you weary, doubtful, drained of prayer, and returning to old patterns from which I am trying to free you. I do not teach you to despise anyone, nor do I call you to judge the hearts of others. I teach you discernment of atmosphere. All things are lawful, but not all things are helpful. As 1 Corinthians 10:23 says, some things are not wrong, yet they no longer help you grow. Some places are not evil, yet they no longer fit the person I am shaping you to become. Some relationships once had a purpose for a certain stretch of the journey, but if you remain only because you fear change, they may quietly keep you smaller than you were created to be. Walk in reverence and love, not bitterness. Release things with peace, not pride. Keep your heart gentle, but do not let gentleness become the absence of boundaries. I am also bringing into your life people who can make your faith shine more brightly. They may not fully understand every depth of your journey, but in their presence, you will not need to pretend in order to be loved, nor shrink your calling so others may feel more comfortable. They will encourage what is pure within you, remind you to return to me when you are weary, and help you see more broadly when fear narrows your vision. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. As Proverbs 27:17 says, pay attention to those who make you desire to live more truthfully, pray more deeply, serve more humbly, and courageously follow what I am speaking over your life. Not everyone I send will arrive in dramatic ways. Sometimes it will simply be a timely question, a quiet word of wisdom, or an arm that steadies you on the day you nearly give up. Yet even those small things may carry my fingerprints upon them. Remember David in the days when Saul pursued him. He had already been anointed king, yet he still had to pass through wildernesses, valleys, and seasons of misunderstanding. During that time, Jonathan came to him, not to take his place, not to make David dependent upon him, but to strengthen his hand in God. As 1 Samuel 23:16 recounts, do you see, my child, a relationship that comes from me will not pull you into dependence upon people, it will strengthen your hands in me. Jonathan loved David with a love that was not jealous of his friend's calling. He did not overshadow the promise, nor attempt to control the journey. He appeared as a gentle confirmation that I still knew exactly where David was hidden. In the same way, I will send people into your life who do not need to sit upon the throne of your heart, but who know how to point you back to the one who already sits upon the throne. Therefore, when you receive new connections, be grateful, but do not worship them. When you receive praise, let your heart be warmed, but do not hang your worth upon the mouths of others. When a door opens, walk through it with humility, but do not let that opportunity become your identity. People may become channels through which blessings flow, but I alone am the source. The hands of others may support you for a season, but I alone am the one who keeps you through every season. Jeremiah 7:8 says that blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, for such a person is like a tree planted by waters, stretching its roots toward the river and unafraid when heat comes. I desire your roots in me to grow so deep that when people come into your life, you do not become proud when they leave. You do not fall apart when opportunities open. You do not lose your simplicity, and when doors close, you do not question my love for you. Let your heart become discerning while still remaining gentle. You do not need to close your heart out of fear of being hurt, but neither do you need to open every door simply because you fear loneliness. I will teach you to recognize what is support and what is bondage, what kind of love helps you grow, and what kind of familiarity pulls you back into old territory, which opportunities carry peace, and which attractions merely awaken impatience within you. When you stay close to me, you will love others more freely, without demanding that they become your source of life. You will work together with others more purely, without trading away your soul in order to advance more quickly. You will receive blessings more openly, without clinging to them through fear of lack. And in all these things, you will know that I am not only opening doors before you, I am also building within you a heart mature enough to walk through those doors while still belonging fully to me. My beloved child, I have not brought you to the edge of something new so that you must throw yourself across by exhausted strength alone. I am not a God who places a burden-heavy command upon you and then stands far away watching to see if you fall. I am the Father walking beside you, placing just enough light before your eyes, teaching your heart to lean toward life the way a young shoot reaches toward the sun after a long night. There are acts of obedience that appear small and ordinary, yet carry deep value in the spiritual realm. A page you begin writing after many days of delay, a conversation you open with honesty, an idea you finally dare to record instead of burying it beneath fear, a word of apology, a word of forgiveness, a small act of caring for what I have placed within your heart. Do not despise these humble beginnings. For Zechariah 4:10 reminds you not to despise the day of small things. Many great rivers begin from quiet springs, and many lives are redirected not through thunder from the heavens, but through one small step taken in trust. I want you to learn how to walk within the rhythm of grace. First, let your heart believe me. Then let your lips agree with truth. And afterward, let your hands do the nearest task before you. If your heart does not believe, your actions will soon become burdensome. If your mouth continually speaks disappointment, the seeds of faith will be buried beneath the dust of fear. If you only speak without stepping forward, your words will become like clouds without rain. But when your heart, your words, and your actions all move in the same direction, your life begins to flow with holy order. Psalm 37:5 teaches you to commit your way unto the Lord and trust in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. Surrender does not mean lying still in helplessness. Surrender means placing what you do beneath my hand, so that your small acts become joined to purposes greater than your eyes can presently see. I do not require you to complete the entire journey in a single day. I simply invite you to remain faithful with today's brick, today's prayer, and today's obedience. Remember Nehemiah when he heard that the walls of Jerusalem lay in ruins. He did not immediately run in panic, nor did he remain forever sitting in grief. First he fasted, prayed, and brought the sorrow of his people before me. Then, when the appointed time came, he spoke before the king with wisdom and requested what was necessary. Afterward, he went quietly at night to inspect the walls, and then began the work of rebuilding. When opposition mocked and threatened him, he did not allow them to rewrite his mission. Nehemiah 4:17 says that those rebuilding the wall worked with one hand while holding a weapon in the other. Do you see? My child, this is the image of one who both trusts and acts, who both prays and builds, who stays alert to darkness yet refuses to abandon the work I have given. Nehemiah did not need applause in order to begin, did not need everyone's understanding in order to continue, and did not need easy circumstances in order to remain faithful. I am teaching you the same. Do not allow opposition to stop holy work, and do not let fear make you abandon the very first brick. At times, what I call strength will look very different from what the world celebrates. The world often believes strength means speaking louder, winning faster, holding tighter, or responding more sharply. But within my kingdom there is a profound power hidden inside sanctified gentleness. Galatians 5:22-23 speaks of the fruit of the Spirit, including gentleness, self-control, and peace. These are not signs of weakness. They are evidence that your strength has been placed under the rule of love. A gentle person is not someone without a voice, but someone who refuses to let bitterness control that voice. A meek person is not someone who shrinks before darkness, but someone who knows they belong to me and therefore has no need to collide with everything in order to prove their worth. When you can keep your heart pure under pressure, Speak the right word instead of a harmful one. And walk steadily without wounding yourself. You are carrying a kind of power that darkness cannot easily shake. Therefore, when I urge you to do something small, do not ask why it seems so ordinary. One sincere message may open the door to reconciliation. One morning spent writing what I placed in your heart may become a seed for many people in the future. One decision to pause before reacting may save you from returning to an old cycle. One quiet act of kindness may testify that I am still alive within you. James 1:22 teaches you to be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For my word was not given merely to move your emotions for a moment, but to transform your real life. I do not require you to do everything perfectly. I seek in you a heart willing to be led by me, hands ready to place the first brick, lips that know how to speak goodness, and a soul that refuses to quit when results do not appear immediately. Walk gently, my beloved child, but do not walk weakly. Be tender, but do not let tenderness be mistaken for the absence of boundaries. Be humble, but do not bury the gift I placed within you because you fear others may not understand. 2 Timothy 1:7 says that I have not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-discipline. Strength, love, and self-control must walk together. For strength without love wounds others, while love without wisdom and awareness can leave you exhausted. I will teach you when to speak and when to remain silent, when to wait and when to move, when to open a door and when to close it in peace. Do not fear that rhythm of guidance. I do not push you into chaos. I lead you into the order of life. Now look at the nearest thing before you and do it with faithfulness. Do not wait until you feel completely ready before you obey, because many times readiness is born while you are already walking. Do not demand to see the entire map before taking a step, for my lamp often shines one step at a time instead of revealing the whole road at once. When you believe, let your heart rest peacefully in me. When you speak, speak like one who is loved and guided. When you act, act with purity, not showing yourself off, not rushing, not living in fear. Then you will begin to realize that these small steps are drawing you out of old places, opening a new current within you, and bringing you closer to what I have prepared. I go before you, I remain with you, and I will use the quiet obedience of today to build a beautiful harvest in my appointed time. My beloved child, do not be surprised if the road before you no longer resembles the map you once drew in your mind. I do not lead you through rigid straight lines of control, but through the gentle rhythm of grace. Sometimes I lead you across open plains filled with light, and sometimes I teach you to walk upon deep waters where you must listen not only to the sound of the wind, but also to the stillness within your own heart. Do not fear the ocean of this season, for I am not leaving you to drift aimlessly across endless waters. I am in your boat, within your breath, and inside every small decision you think no one notices. When you stop trying to hold every measurement, every result, and every timing within your own hands, you will begin to realize that my guidance is not harsh the way fear once told you it would be. I lead through peace, through sufficient light, through a pure stirring that gently inclines your soul toward what is good. Proverbs 4:18 says that the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, shining brighter and brighter until full day. Therefore, do not despise the thin line of light upon the horizon. Dawn does not need to rush in order to prove that it is coming. It simply continues to brighten little by little until night no longer has power to cover the earth. Continue walking as I am teaching you to walk, gentle without becoming shallow, soft without falling apart, quiet without losing direction, There are doors that do not open through hardened strength, yet open before a meek and obedient heart. There are people who are not lifted up by loud words, but by a blessing spoken at the right moment. There are parts of the future that are not opened by haste, but by one small decision today, choosing forgiveness, choosing righteousness, choosing purity of heart, choosing not to respond according to old wounds. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. As Matthew 5:9 says, "Do you see, my child, peace is not escaping from life. It is carrying the atmosphere of heaven into places that could easily become chaotic. When you allow kindness to become your compass, wisdom to steady your hands upon the wheel, and peace to lift your sails, you are not slowing down, you are moving in step with me. There is something I am quietly doing within you that you must understand more deeply. I am not only pouring out the oil, I am also preparing the vessel." Many people ask for abundance while still keeping their hearts small through fear, bitterness, impatience, and the need for recognition. I do not desire to pour holy things into a place still filled with what causes grace to leak away. Therefore, I am enlarging you day by day, enlarging your ability to believe before seeing, enlarging your capacity to love without receiving the response you hoped for, enlarging your patience while everything remains unfinished, enlarging your willingness to serve when no applause is heard. 2 Timothy 2:21 says that whoever cleanses himself from dishonorable things will become a vessel of honor, sanctified and useful for the master, prepared for every good work. My beloved child, I am shaping you into such a vessel, clean so that what is holy will not be mixed with corruption, wide enough to contain what I pour out, strong enough not to crack under pressure, and humble enough that what I place within you will not be used for self-exaltation, but multiplied through love. Remember the wedding at Cana, when the wine had run out and the joy of that family stood on the edge of shame. The miracle did not begin with noise, but with a very simple instruction: fill the stone jars with water. The servants did not fully understand what was about to happen, yet they faithfully did the nearest task before them. John 2 recounts that when the water was drawn out, it had become fine wine. Do you see, my child? The miracle was not only in the transformation of water into wine, but also in the quiet obedience of the hands that filled the jars before seeing the result. If the jars had remained empty, the place prepared for the miracle would not have been ready. In the same way, there are things I desire to transform within your life, but I am inviting you to prepare the vessel through daily faithfulness. Fill your vessel with prayer, gratitude, purity, small acts of goodness, and patience, free from bitterness. And when the appointed time arrives, what seems ordinary within your hands may be touched by me and become a source of joy far greater than you imagined. Therefore, if today you can see only a thin line of light, do not quickly change direction. Do not doubt the one working behind the curtain simply because the miracle has not yet taken its final form. Hebrews 10:36 says that you have need of endurance, so that, after doing the will of God, you may receive what has been promised. Your endurance is not standing motionless in despair. It is continuing to walk steadily in faith. It is keeping your lamp burning while the sky is still dark. It is continuing to speak words of life even when your heart has not yet seen enough evidence. It is continuing to open your hands even though the past once taught you to clench them tightly in self-protection. I know that seasons of transition are often difficult to discern. The night has not fully passed, yet the day has not fully appeared. But right there at that boundary, I am whispering to you, continue on. Do not put down the vessel. Do not extinguish the lamp. Do not close your heart to what is new, simply because what was old once wounded you. Your part is to remain faithful to the light you have today, My part is to fulfill what I have promised with the precision of everlasting love. You do not need to force the dawn to arrive more quickly, nor stir up the sea in order to prove that you have faith. Remain in me. Do the nearest thing with a pure heart. Speak what is good through lips that have been healed, and let your gentle footsteps continue moving toward the light. Isaiah 30:21 says that your ears shall hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way. Walk in it. I will not abandon you in the middle of the sea. I will not allow you to lack what is necessary for the season I am calling you into. When you have been enlarged enough, when your vessel has been cleansed enough, when your heart has learned to remain peaceful in the midst of movement, you will see that the oil I pour out does not come for display, but to nourish, to heal, and to flow through you toward many others. Be at peace. My beloved child, you are walking within my blessing, beneath my wisdom, and inside my unchanging love. My beloved child, remain watchful in peace, for not every danger arrives like thunder. Some things that pull your soul away from the path I prepared do not begin with a great fall, but with a very small inward shift, a thought that makes you question my love, a weariness that tempts you to abandon what was entrusted to you, a whisper causing you to wonder whether you are truly being led. Darkness often does not need to destroy you in a single moment. It only wants to move you away from the center little by little, like a boat slowly drifting off course through hidden currents, while the one holding the helm no longer pays attention. Therefore, I do not call you to live in fear, but in watchfulness. 1 Peter 5:8 reminds you to be sober and vigilant, because your adversary prowls like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. But do not forget this: I do not leave you defenseless before such schemes. I have placed within you the light of discernment, and whenever you turn your face toward me, even through the smallest prayer, the steering wheel of your soul is guided back toward peace. At times, you think you are merely tired, merely quiet, merely slowing down a little. But, my child, learn to discern the difference between holy rest and quiet drifting away. Resting in me softens your heart, while drifting away from me closes it. Resting in me makes you clearer in spirit, while drifting away causes you to believe voices lower than truth. Resting in me draws you back toward the center, while carelessness pulls you toward the edges of the promise. I do not condemn you for moments of weakness, for I know you are dust whom I love and sustain. But I want you to recognize quickly when a thought not from me is trying to find a home within you. Guard your heart above all else, for from it flow the springs of life. As Proverbs 4:23 says, your heart is where the current begins. If you allow that place to become filled with fear, your words and your steps will grow heavy. But if you allow me to guard it, your entire life will gradually return to the rhythm of life again. Remember Eve in the Garden of Eden. Darkness did not begin by snatching the fruit from her hand, but through a question that planted doubt. Did God really say? As Genesis 3 recounts. Do you see? My child, the first strategy of deception is often to make you doubt my word before it leads you into the wrong path. It wants you to see me as one withholding good things rather than a father protecting you. It wants you to interpret boundaries as a lack of love, waiting as abandonment, and correction as condemnation. Therefore, when a thought pulls you away from trusting that I am good, pause immediately. Do not give it a throne within your heart. Do not allow it to wear the clothing of wisdom when inside it carries only the poison of doubt. Bring that thought beneath my light. For God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. As uno, John 1:5 declares. Whatever can remain under the light will make you cleaner. Whatever fears the light is not worthy for you to keep. I have sealed you with my love, and what I have called mine Darkness has no authority to rewrite. Ephesians 1:13 says that you have been sealed with the Holy Spirit of promise. That seal is not a passing emotion, nor does it depend upon whether you feel strong or weak on a particular day. That seal declares that you are known, guarded, called by name, and held within my hands. Therefore, do not release what I have planted simply because you have not yet seen the full outcome. Do not doubt simply because there is silence between the promise and its fulfillment. Do not step backward merely because what you do not yet understand temporarily feels larger than what you can explain. You do not need to hold on through your own strength, for human strength grows weary. Hold on through trust, through returning to me each day, speaking truth again each day, and placing your heart beneath the authority of my peace every day. My beloved child, standing firm does not always mean doing something great in the eyes of others. Many times, standing firm means refusing to answer with bitterness when your heart is provoked. It means not allowing one silent day to convince you that I have forgotten you. It means not letting a word of criticism pull you back into an old identity. It means not abandoning prayer simply because the door has not yet opened. It means continuing to tend the small lamp within your heart even while the winds are blowing. Galatians 6:9 teaches you not to grow weary in doing good. For in due season you shall reap, if you do not lose heart. There is a season of sowing through tears, and there is a season of harvesting with joy, but between those two seasons is the place where faithfulness is formed. I see the times you did not give up, even when no one knew. I see the moments when you chose the light again within a hidden room. I see every time you returned to me after your mind had wandered far away. No return of yours is ever small in my sight. And when you remain standing where I have placed you, the light upon you will not be only for yourself. A person who quietly holds on to the promise may become a signpost for many souls who are lost and wandering. A person who refuses to let doubt overcome them may become a witness that faith can still live in an age filled with noise. A person who knows how to return to me after every moment of drifting will teach others that grace not only saves in the first moment, but continues to correct, sustain, and guide day after day. Matthew 5:16 says, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." That light is not the display of a life that never trembles, but the beauty of a soul that, even after being tested, still chooses to remain in me. Therefore, hold firmly to what has been placed into your hands, but hold it with peace rather than tension. Stay watchful, but do not live in panic. Practice discernment, but do not become suspicious of everyone. Walk slowly when necessary, but do not turn away from the calling. I am closer than your very breath, and every time you incline your heart toward me, I will guide you back into alignment with the axis of life. Isaiah 30:21 says that your ears shall hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way. Walk in it." I will continue to remind you. I will continue to lead you. I will continue to illuminate what you need to see. And as you continue standing within my seal, you will come to understand that darkness may create confusion, but it cannot take away my claim upon your life. You belong to me. My light rests upon you, and the path I open through your faithfulness today will become a pathway of blessing for those who walk behind you. My beloved child, let your mind be cleansed from the thought that your life is drifting through random collisions. You have not been thrown into a nameless battlefield, nor are you wandering through darkness without a guiding hand. Before you ever understood yourself, I already knew the seasons you would walk through, the crossroads you would face, the tears you would hide, and even the good things I would cause to bloom from the places you once believed had become dry and barren. My word says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans for peace and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope, as in Jeremiah 27:7. Therefore, do not call this journey confusion when I am weaving within it a holy order. There are pieces today that you do not yet understand, but none of them lie outside my hand. There are small steps you believe insignificant, yet within my map they are connecting roads that one day you will look back upon with amazement at the precision of my grace. My child, the blessing I am preparing for you is not merely a private gift meant only to soothe your personal longings. It is also a pathway being opened so that many others may be lifted up, set free, encouraged, and come to know that I am still at work through lives willing to obey. Do not consider your quiet faithfulness to be small. A heart standing firm in truth can become a bridge for souls still trapped in fear. A person who chooses peace instead of reaction can change the atmosphere of an entire room. One step of obedience taken before seeing the full outcome can become a milestone for many lives that follow afterward. You are the light of the world. As Matthew 5:14 says, speaks not only of light during favorable days, but of a lamp that continues burning while night tries to cover the earth. Your light does not need display in order to carry power if it simply refuses to go out. Darkness has already begun losing its control. Therefore, in this season, guard your discernment the way a watchman guards the gates of a city. I do not want you to live in suspicion, fearing everything you see and distrusting everyone you hear. That is not the wisdom that comes from me. True discernment is not born from fear, but from intimacy with me. When you become familiar with the voice of your Father, strange voices will reveal themselves naturally. There are words that sound very reasonable, yet leave heaviness within your spirit. There are opportunities that appear bright, yet slowly pull you away from prayer. There are pieces of advice that seem practical, yet cause your heart to shrink, close itself off, and fall back into doubt. I have said, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. As in John saying, 27, my voice may lead you into repentance, but it will never push you into hopeless shame. My voice may call you into courage, but it will not throw you into chaos. My voice may redirect your path, but it will always lead you back toward life, purity, and peace. Remember Esther, the young woman who seemed to be merely swept into the movements of the Persian court, when in truth I had placed her there for a purpose far beyond coincidence. She did not see the full plan from the beginning. She had to walk through fear, silence, discernment, and timing. When Mordecai reminded her that perhaps she had come into her position for such a time as this, as Esther 4:14 says, she understood that her life was not meant only for personal safety. She fasted, prepared herself, and then stepped before the king with wisdom and courage. Do you see? My child, one step taken at the right time by someone who depends upon me opened the way of deliverance for an entire nation. I want you to learn from this that the place where you stand, the things you have endured, the lessons I have planted within you, and even the sensitivity growing inside your spirit all carry meaning far greater than what you can presently see. Do not despise your position. Do not consider hidden preparation to be useless. It may be that the very place where you now stand is the place I will use to open a door of freedom for many others. My beloved child, do not allow your mind to return to the old way of thinking that good things happen to you merely by random luck. In my kingdom, coincidence does not sit upon the throne. I am the one who arranges, preserves, opens pathways, and brings things to completion. Even the smallest choices, when placed into my hands, can carry eternal weight. Every time you remain silent in order not to wound another person, every time you choose prayer instead of panic, every time you continue forward without recognition, Every time you reject what would defile your soul, even though it appears attractive, all these things become threads woven into the garment of the purpose I have prepared for you. Proverbs 3:5-6 teaches you to trust in me with all your heart, to lean not upon your own understanding, but to acknowledge me in all your ways, and I will direct your paths. When you acknowledge me in the small things, I will lead you through the greater things. When you remain faithful to the light you already possess, I will reveal more light for the next step. Therefore, walk forward with a new understanding. My beloved child, you are not desperately searching for an escape like someone abandoned within a maze. You are walking upon a path I have already opened, even if some stretches remain covered in mist before your eyes. You are not sitting helplessly, waiting for blessings to fall unpredictably from the sky. You are being guided into what I have prepared through every act of obedience, every choice of peace, and every return to truth. Psalm 23 says that the steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord, and He delights in their way. Let that word strengthen your heart. Every step you take within me will connect to the next, like threads of gold at first appearing scattered in your sight, but eventually forming a picture filled with meaning when you look back. Keep your heart in me. Keep your ears close to my voice. Keep your lamp burning through the night, and keep your feet gentle upon the path of light. My timing is not as far away as fear tells you. What I have promised is not as weak as doubt imagines. I am leading you, and as you continue walking, you will realize that you are not merely entering into blessing, you are becoming a living sign of my faithfulness for those who will come after you. My beloved child, let your heart become still before this truth. You were not called to push stones beyond your strength, nor placed before a closed door only to despair because your hands are not strong enough. I am the one who makes a way where people see only walls, the one who parts the sea when my people believe they have reached the end, the one who turns the impossible into a pathway beneath the feet of those who trust in me. What you need in this hour is not to strain harder, worry more, run faster, or force circumstances to change according to your timing. What you need is to return to your rightful place in me, to let your heart agree with my leading, to keep your eyes from becoming fixed upon the obstacle, and to keep your mouth from declaring defeat before I have spoken the final word. Zechariah 4:6 reminds you, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit. Therefore, do not confuse obedience with striving. Obedience is standing where I have placed you, keeping your heart in peace, doing the small portion I have entrusted to you, and trusting that what no one else can accomplish still belongs within my hands. Some pressures rise not to signal that you are losing the promise, but to reveal that the promise carries weight. When something holy is near its moment of unveiling, the atmosphere around you may grow tighter, the noise louder, the opposition sharper, and your heart may be tempted to interpret everything through fear. But my child, do not let increasing pressure convince you that I have departed. A contraction is not always a sign of death. Often, it is the sign of birth. A dark hour before dawn does not mean the sun has disappeared. It only means the night is using its final moments. I have said in Isaiah 43:2 that when you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flame consume you. Fire in my hands does not always come to destroy. Sometimes it comes to purify, to preserve what is true, and to reveal the gold hidden beneath the dust. When I stand in the midst of the furnace, the fire loses the authority to end your story. Remember Peter on the night he was imprisoned, chained between two guards, with the outer gates locked while the church prayed without ceasing. To natural eyes, everything was sealed shut, his body restrained, his path blocked, his future threatened. Yet at the appointed time, my angel entered the prison. Light shone within the darkness. The chains fell from his hands, and the iron gate opened by itself. As Acts 12 recounts, "Do you see, my child? The door did not open because Peter possessed enough strength to break the lock. It opened because I had spoken the hour of deliverance." Even when you stand inside limitations you cannot remove by your own power, I still know how to awaken you, guide you, open doors before you, and lead you out of what you believed was the end. Therefore, do not worship the lock. Do not fear the gate more than you fear the one who holds the key. Revelation 3:7 speaks of the one who opens and no one can shut, and who shuts and no one can open. When I open a door, no power can seal what I have decreed. My beloved child, there is a transition I am preparing that reaches beyond circumstances and into the very atmosphere surrounding your life. A day will come when you realize you are no longer standing beneath the old weight, not because you created the light yourself, but because I have brought you into the region of light appointed for your season. Isaiah 60:1 says, "Arise, shine, for your light is come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you." That light is not a lamp you must desperately force to burn through your own effort. It is my glory resting upon you as a new season opens. You need only rise from the posture of bowed despair. Step out from the belief that you have been forgotten, and receive what I am doing with a humble heart. Resurrection is not merely recovering what was lost. Resurrection is when I call forth life from places you believed held nothing left to awaken. When I open a chapter your past could never predict, and when places once buried hear my voice and rise again. But while you wait for the doors to open and the light to flood in, remain within my tower. Do not build yourself a fortress of control, for such a fortress will only exhaust you. Do not raise walls of suspicion, for they will keep even good things from entering. Run instead into my name. For Proverbs 18:10 says that the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe. You do not need to become your own refuge. I am your refuge. I am the boundary darkness cannot cross unless I permit it. Even in the story of Job, the enemy was not free to do whatever it wished. It could go only as far as I allowed. And what I allow is never stronger than the purpose I am protecting. Trials may touch a season, but they cannot erase the covenant. Pressure may expose weakness, but it also reveals what I, myself, have planted within you. Therefore, lift up your head, not because every obstacle has disappeared before your eyes, but because you know that the obstacle is not your God. Keep your heart in agreement with me. Do not let anxiety pull you out of your position. Do not let haste cause you to move ahead of the cloud that is leading you. Do not allow the silence of a single day to make you question faithfulness that has existed from eternity. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still, and know that I am God." That stillness is not passivity. It is the posture of one who knows their Father is working at depths deeper than natural eyes can see. When the door opens, you will understand that I was not only removing the obstacles outside of you, but also strengthening your heart within. When the light arrives, you will know it did not come by accident, but because I called it forth at the appointed time. Remain in me, my beloved child. Walk beneath my covering. What I have ordained will not be destroyed by darkness. What I have guarded will not be stolen from my hand. And what I open for you will become a place where life, freedom, and my glory are revealed more clearly than you have ever imagined. My beloved child, look at the life I am awakening within you through gentler eyes. Do not wait only for a dramatic event, a dazzling moment, or a door suddenly swinging open before you believe that I am restoring you. Many of my deepest works begin quietly, where no one hears the sound of the hammer and no one sees the foundation being laid. Yet layer by layer, everything within you is being reordered according to heaven's design. Sometimes resurrection does not arrive like thunder, but like the first breath after a long night, not through one giant leap, but through a small change in the way you think, the way you remain silent, the way you respond to what once wounded you. I have said, "Behold, I make all things new," as in Revelation 21:5. And that newness is not only around you in your circumstances, but is being woven into the deepest places of your heart. Do not despise a gentler reaction than yesterday, a purer thought than yesterday, or a moment when you choose prayer instead of panic. Those are the first shoots of life pushing upward through the soil. At times you want to understand fully how I work. You want to know why some things change so slowly, why certain places within your heart are healed, little by little, instead of all at once. But my child, a seed does not need to understand all the mysteries of the soil in order to sprout. It only needs to remain in the right place, receiving the right water, the right light, and the right season. You are the same. Your part is not to explain every movement of grace, but to remain in me long enough for my life to accomplish what it was sent to do. Jesus said, "Unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit." As in John 12:24, there are old things within you that must be buried, old reactions, old defenses, old fears, old definitions of yourself. But when they are placed into my hands, that burial is not loss. It is the place where new life is planted. What you think is ending may actually be the soil where I am preparing a season of sweet fruit. I want you to remember the valley of dry bones in Ezekiel's vision. Before him was not a green garden, but a valley full of dry bones, scattered, lifeless, breathless, stripped of every visible sign of hope. Yet I asked him, "Son of man, can these bones live?" As Ezekiel 37 recounts. And when my word was spoken, bone came together with bone. Tendons and flesh covered them. Skin wrapped around them. And finally, breath entered into them until a living army stood upright. Do you see, my child? Resurrection in that story also came through a process. Before the breath entered, there was movement, reconexión, and the reordering of what had once been scattered. In the same way, there are parts within you that once became dry, divided through sorrow, lying still as though they no longer possessed the ability to live. But I am speaking over them. I am reconnecting what was broken, covering what was left exposed, and breathing life into the places you believed were dead. Do not lose heart if today you hear only a small stirring within yourself. It may be the first sign that life is returning. Every time you refuse to respond according to old wounds, recognize that grace is moving within you and not mere coincidence. Every time you are able to listen without immediately becoming defensive, to forgive without losing wisdom, or to continue forward without carrying bitterness, that is evidence that the authority of old seasons is being removed from your life. I am not merely changing outward behavior. I am rewriting the law of life within your heart. Hebrews 8:10 says that I will place my laws into the minds of those who belong to me and write them upon their hearts. Therefore, true transformation is not simply you trying to behave better, but the source within you being renewed. When peace begins to appear where anxiety once ruled, it is because living water has touched dry ground. When you hear my voice more clearly in the middle of noise, it is because your spiritual ears are opening. When you no longer allow old words to define you, it is because a chain has fallen away in the hidden places of your soul. And my beloved child, Do not rush to measure your growth by the feelings of a single day. There will be days when your heart feels bright and clear. There will also be days when you must fight simply to hold on to a small prayer. Yet both kinds of days can still belong to the process I am working within you. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. As 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, becoming a new creation does not mean you will never feel weak again. It means that weakness no longer sits upon the throne ruling over you. It means that even when you are weary, you still know how to return to me. Even when you tremble, you still know whose hand is holding you. Even when you do not fully understand, you can still say, Father, I believe that you are working within me. New life is not always loud, but it is steadfast, holy. It is not always visible, but it grows deep roots. Others may not immediately see it, but before my eyes, every small sprout is known, tended, and protected. And one day, my child, you will look back upon this journey with eyes no longer filled with resentment. You will not only remember the dark seasons as places where you suffered, but you will also recognize them as the places where I quietly planted life. You will see that you are no longer the person who entered that season carrying the old fears, old words, old reactions, and wounded identity of the past. You will discover within yourself a garden that I have cultivated, patience growing where haste once ruled, mercy blooming where judgment once lived, and peace flowing through places that once felt like dry wilderness. Psalm 1:3 says that the one who delights in my ways shall be like a tree planted beside streams of water, bearing fruit in its season, whose leaves do not wither. My child, that promise is no longer distant from you like a painting hanging on a wall. I am turning it into the rhythm of your life. Continue remaining beside my waters. Let your roots grow deeper. Let the life I give not remain hidden only within you, but flow outward through your words, your presence, your kindness, and your faithfulness. I am bringing you back to life, not merely so you may survive, but so that you may become a garden through which my hope can touch many other souls. My beloved child, before you see great outward change, I want you to recognize what I am doing deep within you. There are wearinesses that do not rest only upon the body, but have soaked into the way you breathe, the way you think, and the way you look toward tomorrow. There are burdens you have carried for so long that you no longer even name them. You have quietly grown accustomed to their heaviness, as though it were simply part of normal life. But I do not look upon you with distant eyes. I see every place within you stretched thin by pressure, every corner of your mind filled with the noise of anxiety, every fragment of your heart that learned to make itself smaller in order to avoid further pain. I have not come to condemn you for being weary, but to breathe my life into the places where your strength has begun to fade. As Romans 8:11 says that the Spirit of Him who raised Jesus from the dead also gives life to your mortal body. I want you to understand that my restoring power does not touch your soul in some vague and distant way alone. It brings life into your whole being. From the deepest hidden places within you to every step you take each day. My beloved child, I know there are mornings when you open your eyes and your heart still has not found rest. There are days when your body continues moving, yet inside you it feels as though you are dragging a long winter behind you. Small things can suddenly feel overwhelming, not because you are weaker than others, but because you have endured for so long while so few truly understood. You have tried to smile, tried to complete what needed to be done, tried not to trouble anyone with the weariness you carried inside. But my child, you do not need to hide from me. I am the one who hears even the sighs that have never become words. Psalm 23, 3 says that I restore your soul and lead you in paths of righteousness for my name's sake. That restoration is not merely a passing moment of comfort, it is my hand bringing you back into the rhythm of life that anxiety once stole from you. I am removing the heavy garment of exhaustion from your shoulders, layer by layer, with a gentleness filled with power. Remember Elijah, who once stood boldly before the prophets of Baal, who saw fire fall from heaven, and who witnessed my power revealed openly. Yet afterward, as 1 Kings 19 tells, he fled into the wilderness, sat beneath a broom tree, and asked to die because his soul had grown utterly weary. I did not come to him with harsh rebuke. I did not demand that he rise immediately to prove his faith. I sent an angel with bread and water so he could eat, drink, and rest. Then I allowed him to be nourished again before calling him to continue forward. Do you see, my child? Sometimes healing begins not with a great mission, but with rest I provide, with bread of grace, with water of care, with a gentle reminder that you have not been abandoned in your exhaustion. I know when to send you out, but I also know when you need to be held, restored, and renewed within the quiet place. Therefore, do not despise the small signs that life is returning. A deeper breath after many heavy days. A moment when your mind grows quieter. A tear that falls without carrying all the weight of despair. A healthier thought rising through the dark clouds. These things are not meaningless. They are the first streams appearing in dry land. Isaiah 40:29 says that I give strength to the weary and increase the power of those who have no might. Yet often that strength arrives like the dawn, not crashing down in a single moment, but spreading little by little until you realize that night no longer holds complete authority over you. I am touching the places where you once lost hope. I am softening the places where your heart hardened itself through self-protection. I am quietly calming the inner systems within you that became accustomed to living under constant tension, so that you no longer have to survive like someone forever preparing for another storm. My beloved child, I am also healing the way you hear yourself, the voices that made you question your worth, the accusations repeating themselves within your thoughts, the questions that convinced you that you were not good enough, strong enough, or worthy enough. None of those voices are mine. My voice may correct you, but it always leads you back toward life. My voice may illuminate what must change, but it never crushes you beneath shame. Jesus said in Matthew 11:28, Come unto me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. That invitation is not only for those exhausted outwardly, but also for minds burdened beneath too many thoughts, and for souls that have tried to remain strong for too long while forgetting they are allowed to lean upon their Father. And there will come a time when you realize that the relief I give is unlike the passing emotions of this world. It is not a brief happiness that disappears the moment circumstances change. It is a rooted peace, a deep rest in places that once remained constantly tightened by anxiety. As John 14:27 says, I give you my peace, not as the world gives. That peace does not require every question to be answered immediately before it can arrive. It comes when you know that I am inside the inner room of your soul, restoring order within chaos, relighting the places where weariness once covered everything like darkness. Perhaps you do not yet feel every change in a single day, but I am working. Your body may still need time to rest. Your mind may still need renewing, and your heart may still need to learn how to trust again. But I will not abandon the work I have begun within you. Let me breathe life into you day by day. My beloved child, let me teach you how to rest without guilt, how to cry without shame, how to ask for help without believing yourself weak, and how to hope again without fearing disappointment once more. I do not desire merely for you to continue surviving. I desire for you to live in abundant, restored, and peaceful life. Ezekiel 36:26 says that I will give you a new heart and place a new spirit within you. That is what I am doing, replacing the exhausted heart with one able to receive again, replacing the heavy mind with one illuminated by light, replacing the dry soul with a place where living water flows. Be at peace, my child. I am nearer than your pain, deeper than your weariness, and stronger than everything that once drained your strength. My breath is coming, not merely to touch you briefly and depart, but to restore you from within, lift you gently, and lead you into a season where my life does not simply return, but overflows abundantly inside you. My beloved child, there are seasons when I allow the noise around you to grow quiet, not because I desire to leave you abandoned in loneliness, but because I am calling your soul back to the place where it was created to find rest. When the voices that once reassured you no longer seem strong enough to hold you up, when the familiar supports no longer give you the same sense of security as before, do not quickly assume that you are losing everything. It may be that in those very moments I am removing temporary foundations so that I may teach you how to lean upon the Eternal One. You once searched for reassurance in the words of others, in favorable circumstances, and invisible signs that could easily be seen, but I desire to lead you into a deeper place, where you can sit quietly before me and still know that you are loved, held, and guided. Be still, and know that I am God. As Psalm 46:10 says, is not a call to withdraw in helplessness, but an invitation into mature trust, where your soul no longer struggles and strains, but learns to hear the rhythm of my peace. I do not always come to you through things so dramatic that every sense must be overwhelmed. Many times I come like a thin ray of light, slipping through the crack of an early morning door, like a verse of scripture gently touching your heart at the very moment you were about to give up, like a pure thought appearing in the middle of chaos, like a small but unmistakable peace that you know you could never have created for yourself. You often long for me to answer through mighty signs. Yet there are secrets of grace that can only be heard when your heart grows still enough. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. As John 10:27 says, my voice does not need to compete with the noise of the world, because when you remain near me, you will recognize it by the fragrance of life it carries. My voice may be gentle, but it is not weak. It may be quiet, but it is strong enough to redirect your path. It does not drive you into panic, but draws you back toward light, purity, humility, and a peace that cannot be imitated. Remember the young boy Samuel in the temple, while night still covered everything. He did not yet know how to recognize my voice. So, at first he believed Eli was calling him, but within the stillness of the holy place, I called his name not through the noise of crowds, nor through the pressure of circumstances, but through an intimate invitation. When he answered, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." As 1 Samuel 3 recounts, a prophetic journey began from that very moment of listening. Do you see? My child, some of the greatest callings of your life will not come upon brightly lit stages, but within quiet nights, when outward noise settles and your soul no longer runs from my presence. I am teaching you the same way, not merely to listen when everything feels easy, but to listen even when your heart still trembles, when you do not fully understand, and when all you can say is a simple prayer, "Father, I am listening." And as you learn to remain within my presence, the eyes within your spirit will gradually begin to open. You will no longer view your life as a collection of disconnected events. nor will you continue calling every encounter a coincidence. Some people I bring near you in order to strengthen you, rekindle courage within you, and remind you that you were never meant to struggle alone. Yet there are others who pass through your life like mirrors, revealing hidden places you never fully recognized before: fears of abandonment, the need for approval, defensive reactions, and weariness hidden beneath an outward appearance of normalcy. I do not send every person merely to make you comfortable. Some, though they may wound you, also reveal what still needs healing. But my beloved child, do not misunderstand this. I do not delight in your pain. I am simply powerful enough to use even the things you cannot understand in order to lead you toward freedom. Romans 8:28 says that all things work together for good to those who love me, and that all things includes even the fragments of your life you once believed were nothing more than wounds. Remember Joseph, who was sold by his own brothers, misunderstood, imprisoned, and delayed through years that must have seemed as though his purpose had been buried forever. If Joseph had looked only at each event separately, he could have concluded that his life was nothing more than a chain of injustice. But I saw the greater picture: the pit, Potiphar's house, the prison, and the palace were all paths. I used to bring him into a position where he would preserve many lives during famine. In the end, Joseph was able to say to his brothers, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." As Génesis 50:20 declares. Do you see? My child, I do not call evil good, but I possess the authority to turn evil so that it cannot overcome my purpose. There are people who may wound you, but they do not possess the right to write your ending. There are seasons that may confuse you, but they cannot confuse me. I see the entire story while you are still looking at a single page, stained with tears. Therefore, my beloved child, do not fear the quiet places, nor fear the encounters that cause your heart to think more deeply. Bring everything before me: the person who comforted you, the person who disappointed you, the one who reopened an old wound within you, and even the one who helped you see grace in a new way. I will teach you how to discern without bitterness, how to love without losing boundaries, how to remain grateful without becoming dependent, and how to let go without falling into contempt. Proverbs 3:5-6 teaches you to trust in me with all your heart, to lean not upon your own understanding, but to acknowledge me in all your ways, and I will direct your paths. When you acknowledge me in both joy and tears, in both voices and silence, in both those who come and those who leave, you will begin to see that my hand has never once departed from your journey. And one day you will look back and understand that silence was never emptiness, but holy ground where I was teaching you how to listen. The people who entered your life were not merely passing shadows. Many of them became instruments through which I comforted, shaped, illuminated, or released you from things you were no longer meant to carry. You will no longer ask why everything failed to unfold according to your desires, but instead begin to recognize how my wisdom quietly went before you all along. Be at peace, my child. When the noise grows quiet, I am still speaking. When you do not yet understand the picture, I am still weaving it together. When you see only a small fragment, I am still holding the whole with unfailing love. Draw near to me within that stillness, and you will discover that the place which once seemed most lonely may become the very place where you hear your Father's voice most clearly. My beloved child, do not quickly fear the silence opening around you, for not every quiet season is a sign of loss. There are times when I soften the noise, so your soul will no longer be pulled in every direction by outward voices, but instead learn to sit within my presence and hear what lies deeper. When you try to fill silence with anxiety, endless analysis, or circles of restless questions. You may miss the gentle word I am placing within your heart. Be still, and know that I am God. As Psalm 46:10 says, is not a command to stand frozen in fear, but an invitation into ordered peace, where what has become tangled is brought again beneath my light. It is within that stillness that I am healing the places you once hid away, restoring emotions that have been stirred into confusion, and teaching you that not everything leaving your life means abandonment, and not everything drawing near is meant to be held forever. You have encountered people who were like gentle rain after a season of cracked and thirsty ground. They came with words that made your heart feel lighter, with a presence that helped you breathe again, with encouragement arriving so perfectly on time that you knew I had seen your weariness. Be grateful for those gifts, but do not turn them into your source of life. They are channels through which grace flows, but I alone am the unfailing river. There are also people who entered your life and stirred unrest within you, not necessarily because they were your enemies, but because their presence touched places inside you that had not yet been healed. One sentence may awaken the fear of being abandoned. One silence may revive the feeling of not being chosen. One small distance may stir the deep hunger to be loved that you buried beneath an appearance of strength. My child, do not rush to condemn yourself for these emotions. I do not bring them to the surface in order to shame you. I bring them into the light so they will no longer rule you from the darkness. Understand this: there are encounters in your life that were never meant to remain forever, but came to open a necessary lesson within you. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says that there is a season for everything and a time for every purpose under heaven. Some people are placed beside you to comfort you for a portion of the journey, some to refine what is still rough within you, some to reflect hidden wounds you have never named, and some simply to reveal that you have grown more than you realized. Iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. As Proverbs 27:17 says, yet that sharpening is not always comfortable. Sometimes it exposes the sharp edges of pride, the scars of self-protection, or the lack of peace you learn to hide beneath busyness. I do not allow these things in order to destroy you. I use them to make you brighter, cleaner, and more genuine, so that you may love with a free heart instead of loving from a desperate need to be filled by another person. Remember Abraham and Lot. They once journeyed together, both carrying the marks of a great promise. Yet eventually the land could no longer support both households, and conflict began to rise among their shepherds. Abraham did not cling to Lot out of fear, nor compete out of insecurity. He allowed Lot to choose first while placing his own future into my hands. As Genesis 13 recounts, after Lot separated from Abraham, I spoke again to Abraham, telling him to lift his eyes and look in every direction while I reaffirmed a greater promise. Do you see? My child, some separations are not the loss of blessing, but the very condition needed for you to hear the next confirmation more clearly. Some people leaving your life does not mean your story is becoming smaller. Often it is only after they depart that the vision I have for you begins to widen. Do not cling to a season that has already been completed simply because it once felt familiar. If I am still the one leading you, then what lies ahead is not poorer than what lies behind. There are also collisions that wound you, yet through them I teach you a maturity that comfort alone could never produce. A heart that only knows how to love when everything feels easy has not yet learned the depth of mercy. A soul that remains peaceful only when no one touches its fears has not yet become truly free. I want you to enter into a wiser kind of love, a love that does not become dependent, a forgiveness that does not hand itself back into old destructive cycles, an openness that still knows how to keep healthy boundaries through wisdom. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. As Proverbs 4:23 says, Guarding your heart does not mean closing your doors to everyone. It means allowing me to become the keeper at the gate, so that you no longer give strangers the authority to define who you are when they have only passed through a short chapter of your story. You can remain grateful for what they taught you without carrying them into every future season. You can bless them and still continue forward in peace. I know that sometimes you are not hurting merely because a person left, but because their leaving touched an older wound buried far deeper within you. You think you are grieving only the present moment, but in truth, a part of your past is crying inside you as well. So bring even that hidden part to me. Do not speak to me only about the person who confused or wounded you. Allow me to touch the child within you who once feared not being chosen, who believed they had to strive harder in order to be loved, who learned to stay silent so they would not be abandoned. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. As Psalm 34:18 says, I do not stand far away when those deep places begin to open. I come closer. I do not heal only the outward reaction. I heal the root that produced the reaction itself. And when the root is healed, you will no longer interpret every silence as rejection, every distance as abandonment, or every change as a threat against your worth. Therefore today, my beloved child, let me teach you to view every encounter through wider eyes. The person who brought you joy may have been a gift. The person who hurt you may have been a mirror. The one who stayed may have been support. The one who left may have been release. The person who drove you into deeper prayer may have been a tool I used to draw you nearer to me, even if they themselves never realized it. Romans 8:28 says that all things work together for good to those who love me. But understand this correctly. I do not call every event good. Yet, I am powerful enough that nothing can ultimately overcome my good purpose. My hand does not lose control when your heart becomes confused. My wisdom does not disappear simply because you do not yet understand. My love does not change when one season ends. And one day you will look back and realize that the people who came, the people who left, the peaceful days, the unstable days, the laughter, and even the tears were all used by me to deepen your soul. You will no longer fear silence, because you will know that within it, I am still speaking. You will no longer fear change, because you will know that I am still leading you. You will no longer cling to people as though they were your source of life, because your roots will have learned to grow deeply within me. Rest within my unchanging love. My beloved child, allow me to teach you how to discern without bitterness, how to let go without resentment, how to receive without dependence, and how to continue forward without losing your softness of heart. Everything remains within my hands, the meetings, the endings of seasons, the opening of new doors, and even the quiet spaces where your soul learns to hear the voice of its Father more clearly than ever before. My beloved child, there are doors that close, not because my love for you has diminished, but because my mercy is protecting you from a road that no longer belongs to the season ahead. I know how deeply your heart has ached when someone drifted away, when a relationship changed, or when something that once brought warmth suddenly became an empty space that left you confused. I have seen the moments when you tried to hold on through fear, tried to explain yourself one more time. It tried to prove yourself once more, as though if you simply did enough, the thing you loved would never slip from your hands. But my child, not everything that leaves is a loss, and not everything that stays longer is a blessing. There are things I allow to end, so your soul will not remain bound to a season already completed. Some relationships were once umbrellas during a storm, but if you continue holding them long after the season has changed, they may begin to block the light I am trying to lead you into. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. As Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, Let that truth quiet your heart. There is a season to meet, a season to learn love, a season to be shaped, and also a season to release with peace, without turning separation into a curse spoken over your life. I never treat your pain lightly. When someone once important no longer walks beside you, as before, your heart may feel like a room emptied too quickly, where familiar echoes still remain even though the person is gone. But my beloved child, do not let that emptiness deceive you into believing that I removed something good merely to wound you. I am the Father who sees the end of the road, who understands your heart, and who knows what your emotions today cannot yet discern. There are relationships that, if carried beyond the time I intended, would slowly transform from gifts into chains, from support into dependency, from pure joy into places where you seek your value instead of seeking it in me. I do not look only at the moment of longing you feel right now. I look at your eternal soul, at the person I am forming within you, and at the calling you must not lose simply because you fear loneliness. John 15:2 says that the Father is the gardener who prunes every fruitful branch so that it may bear more fruit. Pruning may hurt, but it never comes from cruelty. It comes from the hand that understands the harvest. Remember Paul, Barnabas, and Mark in Acts 15. A disagreement arose that caused Paul and Barnabas to separate, each walking a different path. To human eyes, it may have looked like a sad fracture between people serving together, but I did not lose control in that separation. Barnabas took Mark, Paul continued with Silas, and my work did not stop. Instead, even more paths were opened. Later, Paul himself spoke of Mark and said, "He is useful to me for ministry," as in 2 Timothy 4:11. Do you see? My child, a separation in one season is not always the final sentence over a person or a relationship. Sometimes I use distance to mature each side, to heal what must be healed, and to prepare a deeper usefulness for the future. Therefore, do not rush to call an ending a failure. There are things I separate not to destroy, but so that each part may be placed back into the right rhythm, the right place, and the right timing within my plan. As you learn to view relationships through more mature eyes, your heart will no longer live trapped between two extremes, clinging tightly out of fear of loss, or shutting itself completely out of fear of pain. I do not want pain to turn you into cracked and barren ground where no seed can take root. I want your heart to remain soft, but soft with wisdom, open, but open beneath my protection, loving, but never forgetting that your true source of life is me. In the parable of the sower, the seed that fell upon good soil produced abundant fruit. As Matthew 13 teaches, good soil is not soil that has never endured storms. It is soil that has been plowed, softened, and cleared of stones and thorns. Your soul is the same. The things that wounded you can become places where mercy begins to grow if you refuse to let bitterness take the place of grace. The people who touched your wounds can become mirrors, helping you recognize what I desire to heal. If you are willing to bring your honest reactions before me, instead of burying them beneath an appearance of strength, and one day you will look back not only with tears, but with deeper understanding. You will realize that some people came to teach you how to receive comfort. Some came to expose fears of abandonment you had never named. Some left so you could learn that your value does not disappear when a hand lets go. Some shattered you open, but through those very cracks, my light entered more deeply. Romans 8:28 says that all things work together for good to those who love me. But understand this rightly. I do not call every pain good. I am simply powerful enough not to allow that pain to be wasted. I can take the broken fragments you believed were fit only for regret and use them to build wisdom, compassion, a purer ability to love, and a freedom you never knew before. There are depths within you that could only open after what felt familiar was no longer there. And there are pathways drawing you nearer to me that only appeared after an old door finally closed. Therefore, my beloved child, do not hate the seasons that have passed, but do not build your tent there either. Give thanks for what was once a gift. Learn the lesson I allowed within it. Forgive what needs to be forgiven, and then continue forward without dragging the chains of resentment behind you. Isaiah 43:18-19 declares that you must not cling to former things in a way that leaves you trapped there. For I am doing a new thing, it is already springing forth. And I will make a way in the wilderness. That new thing cannot be embraced, with hands still gripping tightly to an old season. I will help you let go, not through coldness, but through peace, not through denying your feelings, but through maturity, not through erasing every memory, but by freeing your future from being ruled by those memories any longer. Let me prune away what no longer bears fruit, strengthen what is still weak, and sow something new into the soil of your heart. I am leading you, not away from love, but deeper into love, not into loss, but into freedom, not into emptiness, but into a season where you will understand that everything I allowed to close was still held within the hands of the One, preparing for you a life broader, purer, and more enduring in me. My beloved child, I know there are things you once held on to not because they still carried life, but because they felt familiar to your loneliness. There were places, relationships, habits, and ways of thinking that once made you feel safe in an earlier season. And so, when I began loosening them from your grasp, your heart trembled as though I were taking away part of yourself. But my child, what is familiar is not always what belongs to the future. I am preparing for you. A traveler on a long journey cannot carry every piece of baggage from every road already traveled, because some things that were once necessary in the wilderness would become burdens in the land ahead. I do not remove things in order to leave you empty. I remove them so your hands may become free enough to receive what is purer, more fitting for the season, and more aligned with the person I am shaping you to become. As Isaiah 43:19 says, I am doing a new thing, it will spring forth, and I will make a way in the wilderness. You must understand that this new work often begins with being released from the old. I am not only changing the circumstances around you, I am renewing the hidden room within your mind. Some chains make no sound, and so you never realized how long you had worn them. Perhaps it is the habit of doubting yourself before you even dare to move forward. Perhaps it is the anxiety that rushes ahead of every decision, making you believe you are merely being careful, when in truth your soul has been led by fear. Perhaps it is the instinct to defend yourself whenever love comes near, because you were wounded so deeply that you no longer believe you can be loved without having to strive or protect yourself. Romans 12:2 teaches you not to conform to this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That renewal is not simply about thinking more positively, it is about allowing my truth to replace the lies that have ruled over you for far too long. I am teaching you to look at yourself no longer through the lens of your wounds, to look at others no longer through the lens of fear, and to look at your future no longer through the memory of past heartbreaks. There will be moments when change leaves you feeling unsteady, as though the familiar ground beneath your feet has suddenly been lifted away. But my child, do not call transition abandonment. I have not quietly withdrawn from your life. I am going ahead of you to prepare the way. When an old room no longer has space for the new season, I will not allow you to remain there simply because you are afraid to cross the threshold. I know you may grieve what once warmed your heart, but I also know when that warmth has begun turning into a hiding place that keeps you from hearing the higher calling I have for you. John 15:2 speaks of the Father pruning the fruitful branches so they may bear even more fruit. Pruning does not deny the goodness that once existed. It simply means, I do not want the life within you to stop at its former measure. What I cut away is not removed to cause useless pain, but so the life flowing through you will no longer be poured into branches that cannot carry the harvest ahead. Remember Ruth, the woman who stood in the middle of loss, separation, and a future with no clear shape before her. After her husband died, she could have clung to the past in Moab, remaining with what felt familiar, even though that place no longer carried the calling ahead of her. Yet, she chose to walk with Naomi into a new land, not because everything was certain, but because within her lived a quiet loyalty and a faith that reached beyond circumstances. She did not know that those footsteps along a road marked by poverty and uncertainty would lead her to the field of Boaz, and eventually into the bloodline through which the Savior himself would be born. Do you see? My child, some beginnings look like loss, but in my hands they become the doorway to covenant. Some things you release today with tears will one day be seen differently, and you will understand that I was never taking your future away from you. I was leading you into the very field where grace had already been waiting. I also want you to look upon your broken pieces with different eyes. When a vessel in the potter's hands no longer holds its original shape, an impatient person may throw it away. But I do not work like that. Jeremiah 18 shows you the potter reshaping the vessel when it became marred in his hands. My beloved child, I do not discard the parts of your life that failed, lost their rhythm, became wounded, or collapsed beneath pressure. I place them again upon the wheel of mercy. I soften what has grown hard, gather what has fallen apart, reshape what sorrow distorted, and form something capable of carrying even greater grace than before. There are parts of you that must dissolve from their old form so that I may shape what truly aligns with my original purpose for your life. What you thought was an ending may simply be the moment the clay was placed back into the hands of the potter who already sees the hidden beauty within it. So do not fear when I remove from you the old garments of false identity. You are not the rejection you once experienced. You are not the failure you once walked through. You are not someone who must endlessly prove their worth in order to remain loved. I called you beloved before anyone else ever learned how to speak your name. Ephesians 2:10 says that you are my workmanship, created for the good works I prepared beforehand for you. And if you are my workmanship, then no season of brokenness has the authority to declare you useless. No departure has the power to cut you off from your purpose. No closed chapter can erase the book. I am still writing over your life. I am not merely helping you survive what you have endured. I am leading you out with a clearer mind, a wider heart, and a soul able to discern what true life really is. There will come a day when you tell your story with a different voice, not the voice of someone denying the pain, but the voice of someone who has seen me walking beside them through every dark valley. You will remember the nights when it seemed impossible to rise again, and yet there remained within you a small flame that refused to die. You will remember the moments when you were pressed on every side yet not crushed. Just as 2 Corinthians 4:8 says, we are hard pressed on every side, but not destroyed. You will understand that I never allowed the valley to become your permanent dwelling place. I simply led you through it so you could discover that my hand is stronger than the darkness. What once caused you to weep will no longer remain only a wound, but will become the place where you recognized my faithfulness. What was once pruned away will no longer feel like mere loss, but will stand as proof that I loved you enough to prepare you for a greater harvest ahead. Therefore today, let go in peace, not in despair. Return to my hands what no longer belongs to this season. Allow your mind to be renewed day by day through words of life. Do not let your heart close itself simply because it has known pain before. I am going before you, preparing the way, building the foundation, renewing, reshaping, and keeping the flame alive within you. You have not been left behind. You are being led out from things that can no longer walk into the future with you. And when the new season finally opens, you will not enter it as someone who has been stripped away, but as someone who has been made lighter, made clean, made deeper, and prepared to carry what I give with a heart that has become freer within my love. My beloved child, before I speak to you about the light you can bring into the world, I first want to touch the places in your heart that are still carrying things far too old. There are burdens that have rested upon your shoulders for so long that you began to believe you were born to carry them. There are memories from the past that still quietly call your name through pain, making you believe that what others did to you, what they said, how they left, or what they failed to give you somehow measures your worth. But my child, I speak to you in love. Your past no longer has the authority to name you. Your wounds may explain part of the road you have walked, but they are not permitted to define the person I created you to be. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. As Psalm 147:3 says, is not a distant promise meant for someone else. It is the word I am speaking over the very places within you that still ache. Let it go. Not because what happened to you was insignificant, but because your soul is far too precious to remain chained to the things that caused it to bleed. I know forgiveness is not an easy door to open. Sometimes when you hear that word, your heart tightens again because you fear that if you forgive, your pain will be treated as though it never mattered, or that the person who wounded you will somehow escape the weight of what they did. But, my child, forgiveness in me is not the denial of truth. It is the placing of that truth into the hands of the one who judges far more justly than a wounded heart ever can. Forgive one another as the Lord forgave you. As Colossians 3:13 says, is not a command meant to deepen your suffering, but an invitation to walk out of the prison of resentment. Revenge may make your flesh feel powerful for a moment, but it cannot heal your soul. True freedom begins the moment you say to me, Father, I no longer want this pain to rule the way I love, the way I trust, or the way I see myself. And right there, I begin softening what has hardened, cleansing what bitterness has stained, and restoring to you a heart capable of beating again in the rhythm of peace. As your heart is released from old labels, you will begin to see yourself through my eyes. You once believed you were too small in such a loud world, too ordinary among people who seemed remarkable, too weak for the great demands of life. But you have been measuring light according to the standards of the world. The world celebrates what is dazzling, widely seen, and quickly applauded. I look instead at quiet faithfulness, sincere love, and the small lamp that still chooses to burn inside a dark room. You are the light of the world. As Matthew 5:14 says, does not mean I expect you to become the sun for everyone around you. I only call you to remain faithful to the measure of light I have placed within you. A small lamp does not need to apologize for not being the sunrise. It simply needs to burn where I have placed it. And already the darkness around it no longer has complete authority. Do not wait until you become perfect before allowing me to use your life. If I only used people who never trembled, never failed, never struggled, then many of the greatest stories in my word would never have been written. I called Moses even though he feared his speech was inadequate. I saw David when others saw nothing more than a shepherd boy in the fields. I restored Peter after his weakness and denial, and still entrusted him with the responsibility of strengthening many souls. What I seek within you is not a flawless surface that impresses the world. I seek a heart soft enough to say yes, honest enough to return after falling, humble enough to be led, and loving enough to continue sowing goodness even before seeing the harvest. My power is made perfect in weakness. As 2 Corinthians 9 says, "Therefore, do not use your fragility as a reason to hide from your calling. The very places where you believe you are not enough may become the clearest places where my grace is revealed." Remember Dorcas, also called Tabitha, in the book of Acts 9. She was not remembered as someone standing before crowds, delivering great sermons. Nor was she described through power or fame. She was remembered for her good works and her mercy, the garments she made, the hearts she cared for, the widows comforted by her quiet hands. When she died, the people did not gather to display grand titles or achievements. They brought the clothes she had sewn as evidence that her life had touched them through tangible love. And I used Peter to call her back to life. Do you see? My child, small acts done in love are never forgotten in the eyes of heaven. A quiet stitch, a garment given at the right moment, a kindness never publicly praised can still become testimony to a life that carried light. I do not overlook what the world ignores. So do not underestimate a word of encouragement you speak with sincerity. You do not know whether that sentence may keep someone from giving up on a day when they feel they have almost no strength left. Do not dismiss a compassionate glance, a quiet prayer, or a gentle presence beside someone who feels alone. To you it may seem very small, yet to a soul standing in the middle of darkness, it may become the first ray of light, convincing them they are still seen. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. As Galatians 6:9 says, "The harvest of love does not always appear immediately before your eyes, but no seed planted in me is ever meaningless. I take notice even of the things no one thanks you for, no one speaks about, and no one posts for the world to admire. My beloved child, what seems small in your hands is not small once it is placed into mine. A kind word, a forgiving heart, it's an act of service, a simple gift, a small portion of your time offered in love. All of it can become material, through which I nourish more people than you realize." The boy with the loaves and fish did not possess enough to satisfy the hunger of the crowd by his own strength. But once that small offering was placed into my hands, it became abundance. Therefore, bring me what you have, and do not be ashamed that it seems small. Bring me the heart that has only been partially healed, the trembling hands that still desire to do good, the lips that once carried pain but are now learning to speak life. I will multiply what is offered in purity. I will cause your light to reach places you have never even walked. Today, lay down the old burdens and receive again your true name within my love. You are not forever the victim of what happened to you. You are not too small to make a difference. You do not need to wait until every scar disappears before you are allowed to shine. Allow me to heal you, and then let that healing become a fragrance to others. Forgive, and let that freedom make your words clearer and gentler. Love through small things, and trust that the kingdom of heaven often grows from quiet seeds. I am with you in every hidden act of goodness, every gentle decision, every moment you choose light instead of bitterness. And through your life, even if you believe yourself to be only a small lamp, I will cause much darkness to retreat before the unfailing love that burns within you.